You're gonna be just fine.
I just talk.
Listen to them, children of the night.
Sic transit gloria.
Thrill me.
Hello everyone, welcome to Kill the Cast. My name is Jerry, and we are here for Halloween. It's October, my favorite month, mostly because it's my birthday, but also there's a little thing called Halloween people I've heard of. And with me, I bring the ever-quotable Jay.
Once in his lifetime, every artist feels the hand of God and creates something that comes alive.
And that is usually me topless, for the record. And joining us to replace the Silent Hill biker Kenneth, he could not make it. October's extremely busy for him. His daughter's birthday is the same day as mine, which is October 14th, which is tomorrow because we're recording on the 13th. This should come out on the 14th. But he couldn't make it because of that, and unfortunately, we were like, we got to keep going. We got to get this Vincent Price episode out. So we called up one of our favorite people from the snowy lands in Canada. We brought in Heather. Welcome, Heather.
Well, I'm not as cool as Kenneth, but I'll try. Maybe I'll get my motorcycle license and get some tattoos or something so I can I can be just like him.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna have to fix you up. We gotta get you a pipe and a giant goat.
And a lot of rings. Like the dude has fucking God, his whole hand is metal.
He has shit on his wrist, his fucking fingers. We gotta get you a giant goat head tattooed on your chest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that'd be hot.
That's what we're doing.
Sounds great. Hashtag life goals.
Yeah, exactly. So Jay, how you been?
I've been great.
What you been doing?
For the most part. So that's good. So I've got to talk about something because I promised the owner that I'd talk about it on this episode. I did an Evil Dead 2, specifically themed escape room a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, however long it's been now. I hit the guy up on Facebook because he was advertising it's in Seattle. I was like, hey, I do a horror podcast. You should let me come to your escape room, and then I'll talk about it on my podcast. And he's like, sure. I was like, awesome. So me and a bunch of friends drove down to Seattle and did the Evil Dead 2 officially licensed theme escape room. And it was pretty fucking dope. All kinds of stuff related to the movie. So it takes place in the cabin, and your goal is to help Ash, who's trapped in the evil, quote unquote. So they got an actor to dress up like Ash. He sounds just like him. Doesn't really look like him, but he sounds just like him. And he's kind of like your guide through the escape room, and all the puzzles are related to the movie. It's like one of them, to find a clue, you have to stick your hand in the garbage disposal, and it triggers too. It goes off. It kind of freaked me out when I put my hand in there. But all kinds of stuff. I obviously don't want to. What was that?
Oh, that was a good jump scare then.
Yes, it freaked me out at first. I was like, oh wait, no. I don't want to give away too much because obviously it's don't want to spoil it. But if anybody's in the Seattle area, check out Hourglass Escape Rooms. You can book ahead of time so you can plan a trip. There's obviously tons to do in Seattle. So if you're planning on coming down here, if you don't live, if you live out of state, hop on their website. They're on Facebook. Book the Evil Dead 2 escape room, and you guys will have a blast. Absolutely had a ton of fun. The owner is super receptive to feedback. I was looking at some of the other reviews, and he was responding to them. I sent him some personal feedback. He's like, "Oh man, thanks. Everyone's always afraid to actually critique the room, so I'm glad you said something." But it's a lot of fun. There's a little intro video. You can do up to 6 players, and each player gets a different role within the story. And there's different items that you can use. It's almost like playing a live action puzzle video game. Had a ton of fun.
How long did it take you to complete it?
So the time limit is 70 minutes. I think we did it with like 15 minutes to spare.
Oh, okay. So
it's pretty good.
Effort.
Yeah. Well, a group of people who love Evil Dead and watch and play video games all the time. Some of it was like super obvious.
So sometimes y'all were just staring at shit going, man, that's so Evil Dead 2 like, and then you forget you're doing a puzzle.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well, hell yeah.
The start of it, you played the recording from the movie that Ash listens to, left by the professor. They've got all kinds of little Easter eggs. You don't actually have to know anything about the movie to do the escape room, though. So if you just enjoy horror and horror-themed things, then it's a lot of fun. There are some in-jokes and some references and Easter eggs that are a lot more entertaining if you have seen the movie or enjoying the movie, but you really don't need to. Everything you need to know to solve the room is within the room itself.
Yeah. And fun fact for the show, Evil Dead is our cursed franchise.
Yeah, it is.
Back in our early days, if you're just joining us and haven't heard this story, we tried to record the Evil Dead franchise 3 times in the month of October, actually. And each recording had so many audio problems. This was early on in our podcasting careers. None of it was salvageable. We couldn't use any of the 3 times we were recording. Each time we recorded, it was like 3 or 4 hours. That was going to be one of our big shows. In fact, we were doing it because I got invited to go to a Evil Dead the Musical production. And I did go to that, and it was amazing. I did a whole episode where me and Reese reviewed it, and then we also interviewed a bunch of the cast and the director. And it was a lot of fun. So I love all these little things that are doing with the Evil Dead universe, whether it's Evil Dead the Musical, which I highly recommend. Hopefully your cast was amazing as mine is, or something like this with the Evil Dead 2 escape room. That's fucking awesome, and I would love to do that.
Yeah, you come to Seattle, we'll book a trip down there.
Hell yeah! So shout them out one more time.
Hourglass Escapes in Seattle. They've got several rooms too. I didn't get to do them, but this is actually my first escape room, and I really, really enjoyed it. And so I think I'd like to go back and try some of their other rooms because it was a lot of fun, just as an activity in general. But if you like Evil Dead, you need to get to Seattle and do this escape room. Plan a trip around it. There's plenty of hotels in the area. There's plenty of food. It's within walking distance of places to stay, so like it's pretty easy to get to. And I would definitely worth the amount of money that you have to pay to do it, and it's not even all that expensive when looking at other escape rooms in the area.
Hell yeah! So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Anything else new with you, Jay?
Not really. Just working my ass off. I got a pseudo promotion at work. They made me salary, so still the same responsibilities, but now I kind of have to be in the store a little bit longer. I can't go home early. If there's slow, I have to send somebody else home early since I get paid the same. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been working my way through 31 Days of Horror. I think I'm right on the money. I've been trying to keep myself a couple days ahead because I'm taking a vacation at the end of October. But I've been posting those to the page and actually getting a lot of interaction on them, which is surprising. I think anybody would pay attention. But so if you're looking for something to watch this October, hop on our Facebook page. As I watch movies, I post them very quick, like less than a paragraph review, a 3 out of 5 score, and where I watched it. So if you're trying to hunt it down on streaming, it's there. Some of the stuff is from my own collection. I bought some movies blind, so it may just be out of my own collection or a copy a friend has. But if it was streaming, I list where I watched it so you guys can check it out too with a quick review.
Hell yeah. And I know I saw our boy Heavy Systems from YouTube. He's been commenting on a lot of your Facebook posts for that, which is great. He got banned off YouTube for some reason. But he's joined our Facebook page, and he's been commenting a lot on your posts. So that's been pretty fucking
nice.
Dope. Heather, what have you been up to? I know you've been doing some podcasting.
Yeah.
We're trying to steal her.
You know, and I have Jay to thank for all of this, because if it wasn't for him being so funny, and I think it's either Killer Flicks or some other Facebook page we were on together,
Horror
and me.
Fans.
Yeah, it's something where you post about Kill the Cast and then I listen. So yeah, so I am podcasting. I've been on NFW twice, and I think I'll be semi-regular
fuck Neil.
on that.
Let's put that out there. Hashtag fuck Neil. NFW.
And then Neil or Nudie, whatever people prefer to call them. He says most people call him Nudie, and I are going
call
to
him
be
cocksucker.
Or you can call him cocksucker. So cocksucker and I, whatever, guys. I still come home to you. Just on the other podcast, but you guys are my number one. Right. We're doing a podcast called It's Not Horror Okay. I guess he had a hard time finding someone to do that with him, and he wants to do 80s movies, and I do enjoy myself a good 80 flick, so I will be doing that with him. And I'm actually guest spotting on a couple of other podcasts in November, but I think the person that runs that cast wants to keep that secret, so I will be somewhere else in November. So it's been pretty awesome, and I have Kill the Cast to thank for all of that. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll bring you on, and then other people will be like, oh, we've got to try to steal her. Fuck you, Nudie.
Well, I think it comes down to I'm a girl, and there's like Carly and me and Jamie and Rebecca, and I think maybe I'm missing one other, Lacey.
Lacey.
So
yep. Shout out to Lacey.
There's not many other females, so I think that's why. But I actually went to something pretty cool that I told Christian about, who, as you guys know from Exploding Heads, him and I actually
I love Christian. I won't give
really
a hashtag
close
fuck
to
him.
each other.
Love him.
To a pumpkin festival that I went to, which was pretty amazing. So much so that Venom commented on how awesome the pumpkins looked. So that was pretty sweet. I saw Midsummer finally.
I'm like the only person who has not seen this fucking movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
God
you
damn.
should watch it, Jerry. It's interesting. You know, I can see why people love it or hate it. I enjoy it.
I don't know if he'll like it. The last couple movies like that, he didn't dig at all. And so we both agree on The Witch. We didn't like it. Kenneth loved it. I loved Hereditary, and Jerry didn't really like it at all.
Whoa. After listening to the amazing breakdown by Watson on the Horror Corridor podcast, rest in peace to that podcast, I actually came around, and even though it didn't quite end the way I wanted it to end, I did come around, and the only reason I have not rewatched it is because eventually we're going to cover it on this podcast.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of saving it till then so I can rewatch it right before we record. So, yeah.
That's fair.
So I've heard great things about Midsummer. I know Brandon from Exploding Heads didn't like it, but most everybody else has been pretty positive on it, so we'll see where I land, but Pumpkin Festival sounds dope. I wish I was there. I don't know if I'll be the Great Pumpkin or Pumpkinhead, but one of the two.
It was, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty awesome. And I'm going to an event called Haunted Manor at the end of this month, and it's apparently one of the best haunted houses hayrides in North America. And also on Jay's escape room, I did an escape room for my birthday, and so I Googled the one in Seattle, and it kicked the ass of the one I went to. That escape room that you did, Jay, looked fucking amazing. So I would say,
I obviously couldn't post
holy
pictures
shit.
From inside. He sent me a couple that I posted to our Facebook, and the group picture we took at the end. There's certain props that you get to play with during the room, and at the end they'll let you hold them for group pictures. But so it's actually 3 rooms. They get a little bit smaller, but you get the main cabin, the kitchen, and then Ash's workshed where he builds his shotgun, or chainsaw rather. Well, I guess he technically builds both of them because he cuts the thing off the shotgun. But so it's actually broken down into 3 rooms. But yeah, we're not allowed to take pictures of the inside and the puzzles and stuff like that. But I posted what I was allowed to, what the guy sent me. And yeah, I really can't recommend it enough.
I've got a question.
Well, even their website was good. Like, even when I went on their website from another country, I was like, fuck, I'd go to Seattle for this shit. And to see Jay.
Yeah.
Mostly to see Jay, but also to go to this escape room. It was amazing looking.
So I've got a question completely relevant to all this. Jay, is that a Kirby hanging from your mic?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I thought so. We're doing.
Aww.
I don't know why we never do video, but for some reason we're doing video tonight, and I just happened to see this
because we just didn't turn it off
Kirby.
this time.
Yeah. Normally I always make us turn off the video, but looks most because I look ridiculous. Because I actually I don't just sit here until I actually do move my hands and do gestures and shit when no one can see me, and I feel like I look stupid, so I don't typically do that. I'm sure y'all saw when I started, and I was like, "Hello, welcome to Kill the Guy." I'm fucking throwing my hand around like an Italian.
I love it. I love that you're a hand talker. It's because
Yeah,
Kenneth
no, I
is in here to
actually got
intimidate us.
I got that in a blind bag at E3 when I went a couple years ago. There was a blind bag vendor, and I bought a couple of them.
Nice. All right. Well, shit. I guess we need to get on to me. I've got a good couple of things. First of all, I've decided to try to create some original catchphrases, and I think I came up with the perfect one. Let me know what y'all think. I think my new catchphrase is going to be "Beep beep, Richie." Totally original. I've never heard that anywhere else.
I've listened to the audiobook too.
So I'm gonna start saying that. That's a thing I'm gonna do.
Let's work it in. We can work it into episodes.
No, but fuck, man, I've been doing a lot. I just did another Atomic Age Saucer cast. We did fucking Them, which is a giant ant movie, and it holds up very well. Loved that. I did a guest spot, and it should be coming out in 2 days. Like 2 days. When's the full moon? Full moon's in like 2 days, so it'll come out. No, it's not a full moon yet.
Well, it looked like one.
No, it's well, technically, depending on the full moon's technically 3 days long, but still, there's a point like a day that's like peak full moon. Anyway, I did a guest spot on the Liken It podcast, an all werewolf podcast featuring Jamie and Brian Sammons. we did Silver Bullet and the book. It's based off the novella Cycle of the Werewolf. So that should be coming out probably around the same time as this. So keep a lookout for that, Liking It podcast. That was fucking awesome. I went to the Horror Hootenanny, number 16, anniversary 16. It's a horror punk show hosted by a horror host, and there's also a costume contest. And great bands. We had the local band here called Creeping Cruds, a horror punk band. They did fantastic. I saw this other band called Tiger Sex, and holy shit, that band was fucking rocking, dude. It's a drummer, this guitarist who's Asian. He's like a fucking punk Miyavi, man. He was fucking insane on the guitar. And then they have a female lead singer, and she was just fucking rocking. She was actually up there in like all lingerie, like fucking old school kicking it, and like she was great. She came into the audience. She like jumped down in the audience and started choking me at one point. It was a great show. And then the last band, which I'll say Tiger Sex put on the best set, but the last band was a band called the Sith Fits, which is a band of Siths who turn old punk songs, mostly Misfit songs, but they do hit some Social Distortion and a few others, and they turn it into Star Wars songs.
That's cool.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty legit. It was pretty cool. I saw them. It was okay. My only problem is lead singer started, he was like, so who here saw Return of the Jedi? And I'm like, hell yeah. And he's like, man, you know who got robbed in that movie? Like, Han Solo bites it, and who gets robbed? And I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? He was like, who drives the Millennium Falcon? And I'm like, Lando. He drives the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi. And then he's like, Chewbacca. Chewbacca gets robbed because Han Solo dies and then Ren drives it. And I'm like, that's not Return of the Jedi. That's The Force Awakens. Dude, you're a fucking Star Wars cover band, a mixture of Weird Al and fucking Misfits, all based on Star Wars, and you like fucked up your movies. I don't know what's going on here, man. It was very weird.
Wop, wop, wop.
So I look like a dumbass because he was like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, I'm not wrong. You're wrong. You fuck. And anyway, if you saw the pictures on Facebook, I went as John Trent from In the Mouth of Madness. And 2 people knew who I was. 2 fucking people. And this is the problem. Because I understand 90s horror movies are not super popular, but it's a John Carpenter movie. It's got fucking Sam Neill in it. It's highly H.P. Lovecraft. And it's a hidden fucking gem of 1994. And 2 people knew who I was. I brought a fucking In the Mouth of Madness book with me. I covered myself in crosses, and no one got it. Horror punks, I am so disappointed in you. And the people that won the contest, some of them were okay, but some of them I was just like, really? A shitty Kill Bill costume won a fucking prize? Get the fuck out of here. But shout out to my friend Jerry, because she went as fucking Meteor shit from Creepshow, and it was awesome.
Did she win anything?
She came in, so there was 1 grand prize and like 4 runners up, and she got the smallest runner up, which was bullshit. Because it was her, someone dressed as Kill Bill, someone dressed as like, just a kind of generic skeleton witch thing. It was very generic. Well done, but generic. And then the top prize winner was a female Skeletor, which is cool. In fact, Jerry helped make the costume for it. And apparently she won last year also. But I was just kind of like, that's fucking kind of lame, guys. I really expected...
Kind of basic bitch. That's kind of what it is.
It
it's
really
basic
was.
bitch.
I mean... And I even went up to the guy, Dr. Grangeen, if I could talk properly, who is a horror host, who does like stuff on like local horror, a local channel in Nashville, hosts like old horror movies and shit. And I asked him if he knew who I was. He did not know who I was. So that was kind of very, very sad. So yeah, the point is that watch more horror movies, because if you have not seen In the Mouth of Madness, you were one of those people that I was highly disappointed in last night, and I just wanted to share that. Other than that, I got the Friday the 13th Part 5 Roy Jason figure today.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And a badass Creature from the Black Lagoon shirt.
I saw that. That shirt is pretty big.
Dude, that shirt was fucking expensive.
I can imagine.
Like it was like like $80-something shipped. It was like $80 shipped.
Wow.
Universal's getting that money.
Yeah, they are.
Other than that, I wrote like 4 scripts for Cast v Horror, so I think I'm gonna make some more Cast v Horror videos, and I'm also I came up with an idea today that I thought was funny, which would be a retired creature from the Black Lagoon doing commercials, like just having him like pitch like, "Hi, I'm the creature from the Black Lagoon, and if there's anything I like to wake up with, it's Folgers in my cup." They can't see it, but I actually brought my coffee cup and took a sip after that. So I kind of debated on doing something like that. I thought it would be kind of funny.
That'd be funny. You need to pay $3,000 and get a rubber accurate costume.
I don't have that, but I'm gonna wear the shirt and then use this creature from the Black Lagoon mask.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
like he's just retired and in a shirt.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
That's fantastic.
Vacation creature. So, with that being said, it is October. Everyone's watching horror movies, and Jay and I were talking about what we should do next for Kill the Cast, and we both kind of just agreed on Vincent Price. It was time to get some more Vincent Price action. Jay needs more Vincent Price in his life, and I love Vincent Price. He is my favorite actor of all time. Oh, fuck me, Albert. Favorite actor of all time. I adore him, and I was like, okay, we need to pick 2 movies, and funny enough, they happen to be my top 2 favorite Vincent Price movies of all time. And we're actually starting with my number 1 favorite. I'm not saying it's his best movie, but it is my most nostalgic Vincent Price movie, and that is House of Wax from 1953. Gotta fucking love it. An associate burns down a wax museum with the owner inside, but he survives only to become vengeful and murderous.
Spoiler.
Yes, this movie stars Vincent Price as Professor Henry Jared, Frank Lovejoy as Lieutenant Tom Brennan, Phyllis Kirk as Sue Allen, who, funny enough, did not want to do this movie. She, quote, say, "I do not want to become a Fay Ray." So, the reason she said that is Fay Ray, you will know as the main chick in King Kong from 1933. Well, that year, Fay Ray also starred in a movie called Mysteries at the Wax Museum, which House of Wax is a remake of.
Oh.
But she was under contract, so she did it anyway. We've also got the likes of Carolyn Jones, Roy Roberts, Angela Clark, Dabbs Greer as Sergeant Shane, who would later go on to be the pastor man in fucking Little House on the Prairie. And a very, very young Charles Bronson.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Igor, the Death Mute. That's motherfucking Charles Bronson.
No,
Wait.
that's fucking crazy.
Oh, wait. I didn't say it yet, but one of the other actors I mentioned is very famous too, and you will know them. But I'm gonna save that. Our director is Andre D. Toth. He is a Hungarian man, and funny enough, for this 3D movie, which we're about to get into the history of, he is blind in one eye.
He can't even see 3D.
He cannot see the
That's
3D.
fucking hilarious.
And they actually would not let him wear his eye patch during filming or during publicity because they didn't want people to think that the 3D would be bad.
That's hilarious.
So, funny enough. So, the 3D in this movie is not used to high effect. It actually was used mostly for in-depth, which the director did a lot of mathematics to help figure out since he couldn't see it. But the reason that this film is so important, it is the first big budget, big studio 3D movie. It is not the first 3D movie. That goes to this fucking film, Bahana something. What was it? Bawana Devil. That was the first 3D movie. And based off the success of it, a big studio, Warner Brothers, decided that we're doing it. So this is their big 3D movie now. This movie is also in the Guinness World Records book because it is the first movie with stereophonic sound, which is very, very impressive, even though 90% of theaters couldn't show that. But, fuck it. This movie is also a very big landmark for Vincent Price. Vincent Price at this time was not getting a lot of roles, and when he did, they were secondary characters. And the reason is because of this is because he was anti-Nazi. Doesn't that sound weird? I'm going to explain it to you. Back before World War II, if you were anti-Nazi, the government thought that meant you were communist. So there was a gray list, which meant you could still work. You weren't blacklisted, like another actor in this movie actually is blacklisted, and his name is not in the credits, and we'll get to that too. But he was gray listed. He had a hard time working. In fact, 2 FBI agents came to his house, and he had to sign a bunch of long government documents swearing that he was not a communist. And when he did that, he was removed off the gray list. So in the 1930s, if you were anti-Nazi, the government assumed you were communist, pro-communist.
Wow. That's... Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
This movie...
Wow.
Man, there is... If you buy the Blu-ray for this movie, which, fun fact, cost $300,000 to make. They lost the original negative, so they had to do a lot of shit to make it look good. So if you buy the Blu-ray for this, know that they spent a lot of money making it, and it also comes with a very good behind-the-scenes documentary that will give you all kind of fucking awesome information. So, this movie is very big for multiple reasons. A lot of them I just named. It's a very huge thing. It's what launched Vincent Price's career into a mainstream horror icon. In fact, the director originally wanted Boris Karloff for that role. But that didn't fucking happen. So that's fine. And I also brought up another actor. So Vincent Price's character in this movie actually has 2 sidekicks. You know, he's got Igor, and he has another one, which is fucking named, damn it, what was his name? Leon.
Yeah,
the actor who played Leon was actually blacklisted, so he could not have his name in the credits. Which is very interesting, considering he technically shouldn't have been in the movie. But he somehow was in there. I'm trying to find my note where I actually had why he was blacklisted, because all the information I have in my head, I have forgot his name. Fuck, I can't find it. His name was Nedrick Young, and he was blacklisted. He's the one that plays the alcoholic.
Fucking alcoholics always betraying their fucking people who saved them.
Pretty much. So with that being said, I think it's time we get into this movie. Let's go through this fucking movie. After we're gonna do a kind of a quick walkthrough, and then after we do that, we will kind of get into how y'all felt about this. Jay, this was a first time watch for you?
It was a first time watch, and only the second full length feature to star Vincent Price that I've ever watched ever.
First one being House on Haunted Hill, right?
Correct, which I watched the first year that I did the 31 Days of Horror that caused us to start the podcast.
Bam! Thank you, Kenneth of Holocaust. Heather,
Yeah,
is this a first time watch for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Never seen it before.
A lot of Vincent Price virgins around here. That's
well,
what
I'm
I
not
like.
a virgin. I just only one time. I mean,
It didn't even count. Monster
I didn't
Squad
let him put it all the
flashbacks.
way in.
Yeah. All right. So, in this movie, we have a man named Jared who is a sculptor at a wax museum, and he's very talented. His business partner, Matthew Burke, shows up and talks business with him. Matthew has put like $20,000 into this partnership, and he wants out. But Jared's like, okay, I'm going to convince this guy named Sidney Wallace to buy you out, Burke. So Wallace does show up, but unfortunately, Wallace, who is very impressed, has to go to Egypt for 3 months. So when he comes back, he'll talk about it then. But that's too much time for Burke. Burke wants to just burn down the fucking place and get the insurance money. Jared's like, hell no. These are my creatures. Like, Jared is very close to his mannequins. Mannequins?
Wax figures. Wax figures.
We'll go with wax figures. So much so that he sees them as his children. He sees them as his creator. He says they talk to him. Vincent Price does a very good job really riding that line of creepy in this movie. So, Burke says, look, it's pretty easy. Watch this. He lights a match and just starts lighting motherfuckers on fire. And they fight throughout this whole thing. So this fire scene is really, really well done and so disturbing watching all the wax figures just fucking face melt. I don't know, Jay, first time seeing this fire scene, what were you thinking?
So I really enjoyed the scene overall. The melting of the wax figures was done really well. It was shot really well, like the way the camera followed them around the room as they were tussling. Both of them are not very good stage fighters. The pulled punches are incredibly obvious, but I kind of chalk that up to this being before the the birth of the modern action film.
Yeah, The Matrix hadn't been made to show them how to do it.
You know what I mean? Like, what had been the most popular, like westerns and shit, where it's all shooting and fake dying. So
no, there's punches in westerns. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah,
they be
but I'm just
jaw jacking people.
I'm just trying to give it an excuse as to why it's bad.
Mollywampus.
I felt like the stage fighting wasn't that great, but everything else about it was fantastic. The acting,
mollywop and
fuck man, Vincent Price is such a phenomenal actor, and I actually texted you or messaged you right as I was right when I started watching it, because his acting is amazing, and I wish he was still around to be in movies today. I've really got to dive into his filmography because I just want more after watching that.
I cannot blame you. I would say the next two movies I'd recommend is The Conqueror Worm, a.k.a. Witchfinder General, and Theater of Blood. Those are the next two movies I would say check out by him.
The next movie I'm going to check out is Mask of the Red Death, because we have to watch that before we record.
Yeah. Heather, what about you? What did you think about this fire scene?
Well, the whole scene build-up I really enjoyed. I thought the staging of the scene was excellent. I agree with Jay about the acting by Vincent Price. The character development that happened in a very short dialogue with one real set was amazing, and the music. I'm not really a big music person. I don't think Jay is either. I think you guys have talked about music too. Like, it's not necessarily something that makes it, but in this movie it did. The music matched the movements. I definitely bought into it. And I wanted to ask you, Jerry, I was trying to find the year that this was based on. Now, I know it was made in 1953, but I'm believing that the year is the turn of the 1800s into the 1900s.
So,
is
yes,
that correct?
It is early 1900s. Some places have said the movie specifically takes place in 1902, but
Okay.
I cannot find any official things that say that. But yes, it is early 1900s, somewhere within the first 10 years of the 1900s.
So the interactions was very historically accurate to how people would behave, the amount of money. I thought it was really well done, especially for 1953, but even well done now watching it. It was extremely entertaining.
This movie was actually given a budget of like $1.2 million. They actually only used like a little under $700,000. And they brought it in not only under budget, but they didn't need extra days. They actually came in with days left over.
And I think that had to do with the fact of the set that they used in the filming. Like, it'd be really interesting to watch that be filmed. I think we're so used to how things are filmed now. Like, I agree with Jay about the poor stage fighting, but at the time that probably was considered pretty good. So it was good. I really, a hook, line, and sinker right into that beginning scene. I felt empathy for Vincent Price's character. I felt bad for him. I actually didn't find him that creepy. I just felt like he just really loved his sculptures, and that was just his jam. And I felt really, really bad for what happened to him during that
How do
scene.
you feel about necrophilia? Because I feel like someone who's
Well,
okay.
I think that it's okay if that person consented before dying.
Okay.
Then, like if they wrote "fuck my body," then I don't see the problem, Jerry. You just
I've
need to
got
be more
that tattoo across
open-minded.
my ass.
Yeah. All right. Beep beep, Richie. My new catchphrase. So fun fact. Real fire. Another fun fact. Real fire got out of control.
Oh, dear.
Super fun fact. The fire department had to be called to put it out. It burned a hole through the roof of the set. Next fun fact. They did not stop shooting until the fire department got there. It would be way too expensive and take way
amazing.
too long to remake all of those wax figures, because they are real very well done wax figures that was made by a professional. And so they just kept filming, even though the set was literally on fire, way past they could control. Vincent Price even said that his eyebrows got singed in the fire.
That's pretty fucking hot. Oh, wow. Show must go on.
Crazy.
Show must go on.
Pretty much. And Matthew Burke, by the way, what an asshole. Not only beats the shit out of his partner, leaves him to die. Says, fuck it, I ain't splitting $2,500,000 with nobody. I'm taking the whole, or not 2,500, 25,000. I'm taking the whole fucking shebang. So he just like leaves him there to die. But we see Vincent Price run through a hallway when the whole building falls down on him. It is nice to see Jared does try to put out the fire that's on Marie Antoinette, which is his most loved wax figure. He throws one pail of water on it, but it does not work. And a cool thing when I was watching this today, I watched the movie 3 times. Once regular, once with commentary, and then I watched it again today with my mom because we were hanging out for my birthday. And we watched it again. And in the fight with Burke and Jared, Burke actually takes a mace off of a suit of armor and throws it. And it heads towards the camera. And the camera visibly shakes. You can hear the thud and the shaking from it hitting the camera or something near the camera. Maybe the person holding the camera. She pointed that out and we rewound it and checked it out. And I thought that was really fucking cool. And Burke even turns on the gas to cause the gas leaking to cause the explosion, which is fucking crazy. Our next scene has us with Burke again, and he is with a young lady named Kathy Gray, who is actress Carolyn James, who you know as Morticia in the original Addams Family black and white TV show.
I thought so.
Yes.
Well, I thought I recognized her. I was like, how could I recognize somebody? I don't watch movies from the 50s.
Yeah, that's what I was just...
God damn. And that was probably my first... Oh, fuck.
Say movies from the 50s, it was a television show.
Right, but the movie we watched that she's in was in the 50s.
Yes, this was before the Addams Family. Yes, so I think that's great. I love her little laugh. That kills me. Kathy wants him to get married, and Burke is like, oh, why not? It might be fun. He has no interest in marrying her, which I don't get. He's old, he's graying, and she banging. Like, get on that. Beep Richie. You know what I'm saying? So, now we go back. Yeah, I can't believe no one thought of this catchphrase. It's fucking genius. I was just sitting here.
I think Stephen King thought of it when he was fueled on cocaine.
Who is Stephen King? That sounds like a guy who would write a book about a fucking space spider clown destroyer world eaters of children who gets beat because kids have a gangbang with each other in the sewers. The fuck? That doesn't even make sense. Like, what the fuck are you talking? Jay, don't bring up nobodies on this show. Jay over here talking about some guy he met one time in fucking Bangor, Maine.
I tried to give him his big start.
Uh-huh. Don't use our success to make his bigger. God damn, beep Richie. Okay, so Burke ends up going to his office to get his safe, but behind the couch. Fun fact, couch also has a cameo in multiple internet videos where casting auditions are done. Cool, right? Sure, Jay's seen those videos.
I've got a black couch.
Those videos.
Yeah, I'm not saying I was in one, but I was behind a Kmart once doing awful things with a guy for $5. So Jared, who is now a burned monster, comes out from behind the couch. He turns out the lights and strangles the hell out of Burke. Let's get into this new monster form of Jared. I love this walk that is hunched down, very villain-like. Like, I don't even like the walk he does. It's like a shambling. It's so fucking good. Maybe a little cheesy, but I fucking like it.
No, it worked, man. It is maybe a little cheesy, but it definitely worked.
And it worked for the time era, right?
So perfect.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Especially since it should have been a mystery that it's kind of obvious, but it's supposed to be a mystery that, or a surprise that he is the bad guy. So it works really well to you see him in a wheelchair and then you see him doing this crazy hobble. It works really well.
Oh, well, yeah, you haven't seen him in a wheelchair yet. We haven't got that far. But, yes, it's very, very good, and I love his almost Phantom of the Opera. He looks like if Freddy Krueger tried to be the Phantom of the Opera.
That's a great comparison. He reminded me of Phantom of the Opera when I saw that scene.
Which is funny because Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, actually did do a Phantom of the Opera movie, and Wes Craven fucking loves House of Wax 3D. He's a big fan of this movie.
Connections.
And is even in the documentary that's on the Blu-ray. He shows up. Wes Craven shows up. Fucking Joe Dante shows up. Like, tons of people show up to be like, yo, this movie's fucking awesome. In fact, this movie is actually in the United States Congressional Library as a important film. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Where is it at in Canada's fucking film library, Heather? Yeah.
Does Canada even have a film library?
Fuck Canada.
Why do you guys think that Canada doesn't have a film library?
I don't know.
Like,
cause what are you gonna do?
I just figured
what is
it's
it?
filled with, like,
This film is
it
a
doesn't snow
moose.
all the year. Like, it's not fucking cold all year round. Like, fuck's sakes, guys.
Moose.
Anyway,
I
we
recently
have
learned.
a film library in Toronto.
I recently learned on the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast, they were doing an anime double feature, and they did Vampire Ninja D, and I really liked it. And I found out that y'all have in Canada, y'all have a 24 case of beer or something like that, and it's called a flat. A flat of beer says Moods, and Moods has a very big beard, so he's very good at drinking alcohol.
I could believe that. He also lives in BC, so that makes a lot of sense.
BC, he lives before Christ. All right.
British Columbia.
I refer to things as
Richie.
a
Knows where
flat
that
over here.
Yeah, you're right underneath British Columbia.
Not beer, but like a 24 case of water. I call that a flat of water.
Really? I call it a case of water. Jay apparently is Canadian, so fuck Jay too.
Come on over, Jay. It's better here.
Well, healthcare for sure.
Yeah, universal healthcare.
All right, I'm going to get married to Heather. I'm going to become a Canadian
anytime,
citizen.
Jay. Anytime.
I feel like Heather's in a relationship with some guy who's like just off to the side of the camera, just going, "Fuck you mean you're getting married to this guy?"
It's
Fuck
to give
are you
me
talking
healthcare.
about?
Sure. Is he gonna pay for bills with us? No problem. Just bring him over. That's
Yeah.
fine. Whatever.
It's a green
He's
card.
like
We're gonna.
American. Bring him over.
Are threesomes even allowed in Canada? Are y'all allowed to do that?
Okay, first of all, we
What?
had gay marriage before you guys did 10 years prior. We can go topless. Marijuana is legal. Yeah. We're a lot more progressive than you all are.
Yeah, but you know what you don't have? Freedom.
What?
So shut the fuck up.
Right, I don't have a gun.
Okay, so Jared ends up tying a rope around Burke's neck and throwing him down an elevator shaft so that Burke looks like he committed suicide. Jay, what did you just say?
I said, good, he fucking deserved it.
Yeah, he's a dick.
You don't
So
really feel bad for him at all.
I do not. Then we go to Kathy and Sue is helping Kathy tighten up that corset, and you know, you got to do it because no girl ever hits the jackpot until after 14th Street, which I would know. I just like this scene because I like Sue and Kathy together, and it really like shows how nice of a person Kathy is, which is about to stab us right in the hearts because we love her. And unfortunately, Sue goes to a job interview where she ducks a lot and comes home and tries to sneak in, but Mrs. Flanagan catches her, and she wants her motherfucking money. Cue the old dirty bastard, give me my money, or the remake by Say Anything. I'll take either one. And she's like, okay, well, Kathy said she'd give it to me, so I'm going to go talk to Kathy. And she goes into Kathy's room only to find Kathy dead, and Jared is in the room.
So sad.
I'm very sad. I very much love Kathy. I'm a big Kathy fan. Way better than that Kathy from the newspaper.
I was going to say, Kathy, I was going to make a Dilbert joke, but I didn't get a chance.
Ah, good. Fuck you. I am here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I am all out of bubblegum. It's my new catchphrase.
That what was interesting about this movie is that she was single, living in a boarding house. So they had a main female who was not married, who at that time, that would have been a really fucking big deal, living in a boarding house with other ladies. I actually thought that was pretty cool that they did that. Side note.
I agree. That is actually pretty dope. So Sue runs out the window and jumps out the second floor window to get away from Jared as Jared follows her. And I love this run down this like foggy cobblestone street. It's very atmospheric, and I just, oh fuck me, I love these shots. So Mrs. Flanagan and another guy blow a whistle to get a policeman. As Sue continues to run, she misses a cabbie. She takes off her shoes because she's about to beat that motherfucker with shoes. That is a weapon if I've ever heard of one.
That's what I thought. She was taking off her shoes so they didn't make noise on the cobblestone.
Might be, but the way she held them, like with the heels out from her fist,
it's true. She was probably
punched with those heels. Yeah,
which is smart. Both ways are smart.
Yeah. Now, Jay, have you ever been lurching behind a woman chasing her, and she take off her heels and just hit you in the face with them?
Yes, all the time. That's why I hide in the bushes now.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. We're going to get rid of those bushes soon, but very nice. So Sue makes it to the Andrews place. Mrs. Andrew and her son, Scott Andrew. Mrs. Andrew, Scott's mother, was very good friends with Sue's mother, who I'm guessing Sue's mother is either dead or moved away or something. Doesn't really say. So they go in there and they tell her everything. And then we go to a scene where we found out Kathy was drugged and strangled. Bill Cosby strikes again. And then we get a cool little scene in the morgue where a body pops up and they're like, oh, that's just the embalming fluid. And they push it back down. But Jared himself was hiding in there and he steals the body of Kathy. He calls out the window to two henchmen. They help him lower the body. Very dope. I liked it. The next day we're at the police station and Sue is brought there by Scott and his mom. They kind of explain what's going on, but our cops are kind of like, why didn't you tell us this last night? And they don't seem to explain that she had been fucking traumatized. They're kind of jerks. You know what I'm saying?
They don't know.
Mm-hmm. They don't give a shit.
They really don't. So, Wallace shows up at the new place and for Jared and meets Igor, who is a deaf mute, who brings him in. Wallace thought Jared was dead, but Jared is like, yo, I'm still alive. My hands are all fucked up. I can't do shit anymore, so I hired this deaf mute and this alcoholic to do all my shit. Because I can't use my hands or walk. My dick don't work. It's fucked up. I can't even fuck my wax statues anymore, which sucks because I got really good at sculpting the vagina. And for fun, I actually sculpted a vagina once on John Booth's ass. And I would fuck him. And I would say, yeah, now you're going to take my Lincoln log. And it's just really funny. I can't do that anymore.
Jimmy, this was not the version you sent me. So I would like...
Deleted scene. Deleted scene. I'm sure. Beep, beep, Richie. Okay, so he's going to open a new wax museum. And it will show horror and crime. And Wallace is like, yo, what the fuck? I thought you were all about beauty. And he's like, have you turned your back on beauty? And... unfortunately, Jared's like, no, but I can no longer create it. So he shows them the basement. We get to see the factory where the bodies are created and covered in wax and shit like that. Well, Jared needs $30,000 from Wallace to reopen. So Jared shows him the body of a man who hung himself and acts like he don't know the fucking dude. But it's Burke. And he does all this shit and Burke falls over because, wax statues can fall over and not break apart. All right, then we get our intermission. Now, we're going to do a little quiz show, guys.
Sure.
Who knows why there is an intermission in this movie? TikTok,
so
Jay.
Put on your 3D glasses.
You are wrong. You would have been wearing them the whole time. Fun
So
fact,
you
they are
can
not
take a piss.
They are not the red and blue ones. They are the polar lens ones.
Ooh, that's fancy. Why did we go from polar lens to
red and blue is cheaper?
Back to polar lens.
Red and blue is cheaper.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay,
all right,
I have
Heather.
I have a guess.
Okay.
Either they had to change the film, so they ran out of film and they had to put a new reel on, or it was to get people to go out and purchase concessions and come back in.
All right, you're partly right.
Okay.
It is because they had to change films. But here's the thing. In a normal film, they do not have to stop and have an intermission. Because it's one reel. A 3D movie is 2 projectors with 2 reels. So they had to stop the movie to change out both reels, which they could not do without an intermission.
Right.
Smart.
Heather was close. Jay, you are big dumb JJ. Big
Listen,
old dumb
I
JJ.
I haven't learned how to time travel yet, so...
What does that have to do with anything? Are you going to time travel and make sure Back to the Future's never made? Because that would be dope. Fuck that movie.
It really isn't that great of a movie. I agree with you, Jerry.
Yeah!
Oh.
Fuck that
It's
movie.
okay.
Why
but
did
it's
they
not...
Fox is Canadian?
Doesn't mean it's good.
You said you have to love it because
Look,
you're Canadian.
no, I love The
Look,
Frighteners
guys, I'm just
with
trying to
Michael
make
J.
that-
Fox. You know, that movie's so good. It's so funny. I just shake with laughter.
Oh,
Oh.
Jerry.
What? What did I do?
Oh, God.
I don't understand what I did wrong.
That's half of the problem, Jerry.
All right, so we are back and we get to Jay's favorite part of the movie, the Barker. The Barker is a man who stands out front and does his little ball and paddle show and tells people about the sites that are inside to bring them in. Now, this is one of the major 3D gimmicks in this movie. In fact, there's not that many 3D gimmicks in the movie, but this is by far the biggest in your face. Now, a lot of 3D movies later on would get in your fucking face a lot, Friday the 13th Part 3. Constantly reminding you that it's in 3D, but this movie really has this one scene that's the big standout. Now, I have never been bothered by this scene because I'm super jealous of the paddle ability. I can't do that. Like, I'll sit there and just try. Can't do it. Ball ends up all over the place.
So
I
you
have no
can't
ability.
hit balls. You're not good with balls. Is what you're saying, Jerry.
I want to be a baller.
You want to be a baller.
I want to be a
Shot
shot caller. 20-inch rims on the Impaler. I called her to get laid tonight, but switcher on top got sprayed tonight, so I hit the highway. Making money
Yeah.
the flyway. But, you know, there's got to be a better way. A better way. Yeah.
That was pretty good.
I love that song. That is the white version of it. And it's actually about this scene. So, yeah, Jay, let's talk about the Barker. Why don't you like the Barker?
It just took me out of the feel of this. So the rest of the movie feels, fairly serious. It's got good drama. It's got good creepiness. And this scene was more comical than anything. It also had nothing to do with the plot whatsoever, other than it being part of the opening night. And it just took me right out of it. The guy's got mad paddleball skills, but it just felt so disjointed from the rest of the movie that you could easily cut it down to a few seconds if it wasn't for the fact that it was made to show off the 3D.
But Jay, he was able to fit 3 balls in his mouth.
That's a lot of balls.
Yeah, I can see that on Pornhub anytime I want.
3 balls?
3 balls on Pornhub.
Specifically three.
Speaking of Pornhub,
Challenge accepted.
fuck you, Kenneth. Kenneth just sent me and Jay like 20 pictures of a bunch of like horror shit from like Planet Hollywood, and I can't even look at them because I'm trying to host a fucking show. And I just want to say, fuck you, Kenneth, out there having a ballin' ass time showing us all this cool shit, and I'm trying to host a show and you trying to
Don't
distract
worry,
me.
just know that he's overpaying for all his food because it's Planet fucking Hollywood.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That's true. Happy birthday, Jade. Your godfather loves you. And fuck you to your mom. Okay. Here
Jerry.
we
Oh my god.
go. So we now get to go into the wax museum, and I fucking love this. My favorite scene in here is the lady passes out, and Jared's just like, "Would y'all like some smelling salts?" He just has them on him.
I loved the lady
Yeah.
passing out. It was so stereotypical and perfect for the time period. It was
Oh, it's
excellent.
great. Like the scene of the fucking girl the wax model dancing, and the girl's like, "Oh, I bet I could do that," and the other girl's like, "Don't do that shit in public, you whore."
Yes. Oh my god, it was the dialogue there was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I love that shit. I actually want to say, a lot of wax skin being shown in this movie, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of some sexy wax shit going on.
There was some kid in the 1950s who got a hard-on in the movie theater.
Absolutely.
It was probably
And
someone
there was
related
Jay
to
in
Jay.
2019.
Jay's too, he's seen too much shit at this point. He ain't getting hard for wax statues.
No, paraplegics, burn victims turn me on.
So you got turned on by Jared in this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
That's fucking gross, but it makes sense. Also explains why you think A Nightmare on Elm Street is a good movie. All the blood goes to the other head.
I'm gonna set you on fire.
Oh yeah, why? So you gonna have sex with me?
Yes.
So anyway, we get the Matthew Burke exhibit, which Price amusingly says, is it a murder or a suicide? So Scott and Sue show up to the exhibit, and Scott knows Wallace, and Sue quickly finds the Joan of Arc and starts noticing it, and Jared kind of rolls in. They see me rolling, noticing her as she touches Joan. Scott and Wallace show up to ask her if she's okay, and she's like, it's Kathy's face, and Jared explains that by being like, Kathy was fucking hot, bro. I modeled it after pictures of her because I was fascinated by her pictures in the paper. Then he very creepily looks at Scott's hands and talks about how he envies them, and it's very, very creepy. If you're not creeped out by the way he constantly in this movie is just like, oh, how I envy you to do the things I used to be able to do.
It was some creepy. I would agree that scene was creepy and actually really well played out.
Yeah. So Wallace and Jared says that Sue looks like Marion Antoinette. And the wanting and desperation just hidden in Jared's face as he talks about the art and God and all that. It's just amazing. It's like it's about to just come out of his face, but it doesn't. You can see it there, but it's not like an overpower. Like he has it under control. His want is there, but he's reeling it back. And it kind of got me hard. The barker can fit 3 balls in his mouth. So Jared, as monster cart comes creeping out and Sue is turning into bed, Jared uses a goddamn grappling hook to get over to the building. He enters the window of Sue. She wakes up, screams. Jared jumps out the window. Hell yeah. I like grappling hooks. That shit's dope.
Everybody likes grappling hooks.
For Rizzle. We then go to 14th Street Music Hall. Someone's becoming a upstanding lady now. They go and see a bunch of can dancers, and Sue brings up that, do good people even come here? And I'm like, hell yeah, bitch, they're barely seeing anything. Calm down. You can't even make out the butt because all these stupid fucking ruffles. Piss me off. Now, she then brings up Kathy and how, and this is very important, Kathy wore an earring in her right ear, and she only wore it in the right ear. And she thinks that, there's something suspicious about that wax figure, so they go to the police department, tell them what they came up for, and Lieutenant Brenda promises to go look at it. He calls Shane, and they go to look at it at the House of Wax. As they're checking out the House of Wax, Sue also comes to see Joan of Arc. Sue asks about the earrings in plural, and asks that the cops take away the jewelry, which they say they do, but he would have seen both piercing holes, and if he would have missed both of them, Jared would have been very upset with him. And this is very clue because we know that she only has her right ear pierced, not both. And that the wax statue also has the earring in. They're not taken out. Which means that there's definitely a fucking body in there.
Maybe.
But what do you mean, maybe?
Maybe. You don't know.
Man,
don't just assume the guy that was tortured by fire is killing people now. That's rude.
Look, I'm here to do 2 things, okay? Watch movies and podcast. And I'm all out of movies. So, honk Stewart. Untitled Goose Game. Okay, so Jared shows up and shows Sue her wax head, but he wants the real thing, as Scott will try to improve on nature, and he desperately wants the real thing. So we then jump over to Shane and Brennan, who see Booth, and they think Booth looks like someone. Looks just like a man named Wilbur who went missing, who is some guy in court or something like that. I can't remember what his title was. And Leon comes up to tell them that not to touch the exhibits, and Leon is the drunk fella. He's also the actor who is blacklisted and does not have his credits in the movie. And Shane thinks Leon looks familiar, so they go back to the police station to question Wallace. All they really find out is that Leon is a drunk. Shane says Carl Hendricks from Sing Sing painted a Last Supper mural and got free for being a genius, and then he turned into a drunk and missed his parole, or had parole violations. Now, I am not one to judge the 1900s, but just because someone can paint a picture of Jesus does not mean you let him out of jail.
It's good. It's good for the parole board. You can be like, I painted our Lord and Savior, and they'd be like, shit, we love religion. You're free to go.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. John Wayne Gacy could have just painted a picture of Jesus dressed up as Pogo the Clown, and they could have let him out, and he could have raped and killed more boys.
It's true. He didn't go with a good enough defense.
He did not. If the painting of it is Jesus, you must let him leave us.
Ugh.
So, Scott works on a sculpt while Jared yells at him. Not really yells at him, he just kind of is demeaning to him. And Sue was on her way to meet Scott because it is her birthday. But Jared sends Scott's on his way to a task to get flowers. Back at the police station, they find a gold watch on Leon that belonged to William Patterson, who is the man who was killed, to become Booth. And Leon says he found it on a train. Leon begs for a drink, and we jump back to Sue, who's waiting at the wax museum, but decides to go in to look for Scott. Igor locks the door behind her. Igor hides as a head on a shelf. Now, there is, in Italy, the poster that's used is actually this shot of Igor hiding on the shelf, because Charles Bronson was a much bigger, famous actor in Italy at the time than he was in America.
Mm.
He had not done his Death Wish movies yet. It's Death Wish, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch those movies because
You haven't seen Death Wish?
No,
He hates
They're
action
good film. They're good movies.
I do not believe
Well,
you.
action,
You
but, like,
are
Death Wish
Canadian.
It's a good movie.
The first one, I think you might actually enjoy the first one. The rest of them are a little ridiculous.
Not all action movies are bad, Jerry.
Did you listen to our Matrix view?
I did. Oh, I listened to your Matrix thing. I don't love the Matrix, but it was entertaining. Like, it was a fun movie when it came out. It was entertaining at the time.
It
Like,
was the Punisher.
I get what you're saying about Ghost in the Shell. I didn't see Ghost in the Shell, so I totally understand your comparisons. But it was entertaining.
You didn't see Ghost in the Shell, but you understand my comparison. That is
Well, you
Canadian
explained
logic.
it. You explained it well. You explained
Fair.
the scenes that were similar, right?
Yeah. Okay. Charles Bronson. So anyway, we have the wax figure of Burke hanging in the background as she's looking around, just kind of like twirling back there. And it looks fucking great. It's a very like small, spooky looking thing that I was a big fan of for this scene. So Sue inspects Joan of Arc again and removes the wig to see that it's Kathy's blonde hair. I don't know why they didn't just shave her hair off, but okay. Did they shave the other hair off? Is my question. Jared tells her that she shouldn't have done that. Sue knew it all the time. It's Kathy's body under the wax. So Sue busts the wax mask off Jared and faints at his hideous face. And I love this scene, even though it's kind of ridiculous that his wax face could move so well and then just gets broken off. But it's a movie from the 50s, so I accept it. Sue is strapped to the wax table naked. How risque. Scott's waiting outside for Sue and decides to go in. We jump back to Leon, who just can't take it. and has to have a drink, and he tells everything he knows. Patterson was killed because he looked like Booth. Burke set fire to the place, so Jared killed him. He killed Kathy also, and he's going to kill Sue next. So the police are off to the Wax Museum. Scott enters the Wax Museum, and even though this door was locked by Igor, he somehow gets in. You know, maybe he's got a key. I don't know. Doesn't seem quite right. I've always had a problem with that. Igor and Scott get into a fight, and I love and even though, you know, Jay will bring up bad pulling punches, one thing I love about older movies is shadow fighting. I love in old movies where we see the action through the shadows on the walls.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry.
That was cool. The shot was super cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So Igor chokes out Scott. He passes out and plans to put him in the guillotine. We jump to Jared, who's about to use a drug on Sue like he used on Kathy, but he doesn't quite get there. We don't actually get to see it happen because the cops arrive. And Igor is putting Scott in the guillotine, and the cops arrive and stop it. So, fun fact about this guillotine. Actual working guillotine.
Jesus Christ.
Really? Wow.
The actor who played Scott at first refused to fucking do this at all. He was out absolutely no. He walked off set, wouldn't do it. They made the guillotine quote unquote safer, so he agreed to do one take. If that take didn't work, fuck him. I ain't doing it.
Bless you.
Bless you, my child, for you have sinned.
Every fucking day of my life.
Yes. Worship me. My name is Brother Jerry, and I am from Cult Unknown. Come join my island. We do not listen to 30 Seconds from Mars. Okay. So yeah, he wouldn't do it. So Brennan starts asking where Jared is and starts slapping Igor because apparently he forgot that he's a deaf mute and can't fucking respond to him.
Yeah, I didn't get that part either. Why do you mention that?
So then after that, they pull Scott out of the guillotine where the guillotine actually comes down, which is fucked up. The cops bust in the cellar. Jared beats two of the cops up, but Brennan and Shane show up to fight them, but both of them kind of leave also. And another unknown cop come and punches Jared straight into the wax. Pause. I need to talk about something here. Mr. Tim fucking Burton. Let's talk about how you ripped off this movie for Batman and used this exact same thing for the Joker in your movie, played by Jack Nicholson. I'm on to you, sir. Not only are you ripping off Edgar Allan Poe as your aesthetic, but you're stealing from House of Wax. I'm on to you. I know what you're fucking doing. I'm watching you. My eyes are there, Mr. Burton. You've made one good movie, and that movie was Ed Wood. And well, I mean, Mars Attacks was okay. I'll give you that. But mostly just Ed Wood. And fuck you, Burton. I'm watching your shit. Okay, Sleepy Hollow was okay too. But fuck Nightmare Before Christmas. Hashtag
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Fuck your shit. You didn't direct it, but that's your fucking aesthetic. So fuck that movie and fuck you. All up in. You ruined Hot Topic.
You ruined Hot Topic.
Hot Topic ruined Hot Topic.
Fuck you, Jay. Have you ever went to a Hot Topic in the past fucking 10 years and not seen some stupid ass Nightmare Before Christmas shit in there?
To be fair, I couldn't escape Nightmare Before Christmas shit and Hot Topic when I was in fucking high school either. Except
yeah, but it wasn't everywhere.
They also had shirts to bands that weren't being played on the radio and that weren't popular. Now it's all just anything that's popular is there, and that's all you get.
Yeah, that's true. They don't carry Every Time I Die shirts anymore, so fuck them.
So I was there recently, and they had a shirt that was just the Blockbuster logo on a shirt, and I fucking bought that shit real quick.
Dude, Target has this badass blue shirt that's got like the outline of the Blockbuster building, and it says "Make it a Blockbuster night."
That's dope too. I'm gonna find
pretty
that.
awesome.
I'm gonna get that too.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought it was fucking super sweet. Yeah, so back into this movie, unpause. And Brennan pulls Sue from the table and throws a jacket on her to cover up because she's all naked, but he got to see the goods. Bonus side effect of being a police officer. I mean, yeah, a lot of the naked chicks you're gonna see are naked, or beat up by their husband, or overdosing on drugs, are dead. Whatever. But you can see a lot of naked chicks, so that's pretty cool, man. You know, maybe stop shooting black guys, but fuck, man, at least you can see naked chicks. So then we go to the police station as they all laugh and joke about it being cold, and that's why he gave her a jacket and blah blah blah. The movie fucking ends with this stupid scene of him holding the fucking wax head, and it's like, by the time he gets out, he's going to have a very big beard, which made no sense to me.
Totally
but
1950s humor. That's why.
You're not allowed to shave in the prison back then.
Really?
I have no idea. I'm making bullshit up. Like
okay. I was over here like, oh shit, for real? I didn't know that. Fuck yeah. So, with that being said, that's the movie, and now we're gonna get into some overall opinions on shit. So we're gonna start with you, Jay. Jay, House of Wax. We went through the movie. Tell us your thoughts and inspirations and how things happen in this movie that the director Tim Burton stole from and all that.
It was okay.
Get the fuck off this podcast.
I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was great. It really got me hyped to watch more Vincent Price movies. Like you had said earlier, the only other one I had seen before this was House on Haunted Hill, which was okay. But it really just showcased how amazing of an actor fucking Vincent Price is. And I just want to watch a ton of his stuff now. And I'm excited that we're doing another one right after this. Hopefully before October ends. We'll see what happens with the schedules.
Probably not. It's probably going to be the 1st of November.
Whatever.
You go on
Either way,
vacation, then I go on vacation.
Yeah, I know.
It's pretty bad.
But yeah, so I really dug it. I thought the special effects were fantastic for the time. They must have built those wax statues for real. Like maybe they borrowed them from a wax museum or something. But they all looked phenomenal.
They were all built for the movie. They were done
impressive
by a professional.
That's impressive because it looked great. But yeah, pretty much everything about this movie except for that weird ass paddleball break.
Yeah,
it just really worked.
The lady who did the wax figures is named Catherine Stuberg.
Well, good for her. Good job, Kathy. But yeah, I really like it. I don't really have anything negative to say about this movie. It was fantastic. I'm glad that we watched it, and I'm excited more than ever to watch more Vincent Price movies. And actually, so I'd seen the remake, and this actually makes me appreciate the remake more because they're completely different, which is, I like that.
Have you seen Tourist Trap?
Yes, I watched it when Joe Bob came back for the last drive-in that got turned into a show, so it wasn't really the last drive-in at all.
The House of Wax 2005 remake is more of a remake of Tourist Trap than it is of this House of Wax, which is a remake of Wax, Mysteries of the Wax Museum.
True, but either way, it made me appreciate it more because they're completely different, with a small similar premise, and I like when remakes do that. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints. If you have questions, I might be able to get more specific, but that's pretty much my overall thoughts on it.
Okay, Heather, what about you? What you got?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. For a 1953 film, the effects were amazing. The music really, really stood out to me. I talked about the scene at the beginning. The other scene that really did is when Sue is in the museum and she's kind of doing her investigation and she's spinning around and she's bumping into things. I thought the music really played well into that. I don't usually notice music in movies either, but this one really stood out to me. I really liked the way they took it back to the 1900s. I like the fact that she lived in a boarding house. I like the fact that she was kind of a protagonist, but they still had the men come in because that makes sense at that time. That's what would have happened. And Vincent Price is phenomenal. I had no idea how good he was. And yeah, overall, I think for a 1953 movie, it's still pretty fucking entertaining in 2019. And I would recommend that everyone check it out. I think comparably to some movies I've seen as of recent, it's better. And yeah, really, really good. And I think to your point about Tim Burton stealing, I think that leads to a bigger conversation, what you and I talked about before, is what is stealing and what is inspirational. And I'm not siding on any side of this here, but I think it's interesting because how original can someone honestly be? You're always going to look back into cinematic history and be inspired by things that you see. So where do you cross the line of inspiration and straight out plagiarism? And I think that would be a really interesting thing to look at these movies and talk about.
So
that would be a good roundtable discussion.
I think it'd be a fabulous one.
I do it where I eliminate the bias that I would have and
you
go.
Don't.
So let me finish here, okay? I eliminate my personal bias and go solely on whether or not I like them.
For sure, that makes total sense. There's no bias with that, for sure. Yeah.
You know, I like Quentin Tarantino, so all his stealing, inspirational.
You know, not works. Like he's ever done a scene-for-scene remake of an Asian film that no one's ever seen.
What is that? Sex and Violence or some shit like that?
I don't know. Reservoir Dogs is the movie that is a remake of some
Kill
Asian
Bill
film.
is a remake of, I want to say it's Sex and Violence.
I thought Kill Bill, the whole plot to it is a premise that him and Uma Thurman came up with on the set of Pulp Fiction. It's just all of the action and everything is just like every kung fu movie ever.
No, they specifically... Sex and Fury is the movie they jacked a lot of shit from. The movie's called Sex and Fury. They didn't necessarily copy the story, but like kind of the aesthetic.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean, but yeah, it's Tarantino. All he does is jack aesthetics.
But if you think about it, what is wrong with doing that? What is wrong with taking that something was successful and repackaging it? Because your goal as a filmmaker is to make money, right? So the goal is to get people to come see it. So if I go and see it, it's familiar, right? Okay,
here's my problem. I don't have a problem with you doing that. My problem is when people go, "Oh my god, that's so original," and it's not. It's quote unquote The Matrix. It is not original. It's a bunch of stolen shit put together. It's fucking Tarantino movies. It's The Matrix. It's fucking Tim Burton. All this. They're so original in everything they do. No, they're fucking not. They just steal a bunch of shit that you've never heard of because they're nerdier than you.
But nothing is original anymore. Like, it's impossible.
What about my catchphrase, Jay?
You're
what
right.
about my
catchphrase? I've never heard that
honk
uttered
Which
anywhere.
One?
Yeah,
in
Beat
media.
Richie, or the variant that is a limited run you can get at a store. It'll be exclusive to a store, probably Walgreens. The Honk Honk Stewart.
Absolutely, that's definitely not a parody or ripped off at all.
No, 100% original.
We need to make this, when we get that roundtable show off the ground, we need to make this one of the topics of discussion, because I don't want to derail this show, but I could go on for a while with some opinions.
I agree, and I think in this community of people that listen to podcasts, we're past the point of what are your top 10s and that, and that's great, and all that stuff is fun. But I think if we really get down and talk about this, it'd be a really interesting conversation and what people bring to the table and what they actually think and what they use to back up their opinions.
Yeah, just I won't have anyone on the show who has children, because if you have children, you have terrible opinions because you've made terrible choices in your life.
But doesn't Kenneth have a child, so he can't come on the show?
Correct.
Alright, well, too bad for Kenneth.
Yeah, fuck them. So when this movie originally came out, the reviews were actually pretty negative. But you know what? Fuck critics and their negative opinions, because this movie made fucking bank, and it was at the top of the leaderboards for 5 weeks. And keep in mind, movie theaters were in a slump at this point because people were actually getting televisions. It was actually a thing for people to have a television. So, like, that's part of the reason why the 3D gimmick was so big for, like, the 2 years that it was because it actually got people into the movie theater instead of watching it at their home. And this fucking thing dominated, and now it's considered a movie of great historical importance. Like I said, it ended up blowing up Vincent Price's career. It helped with getting Carolyn Jones, the Addams Family, as Morticia.
Thank God it did. Oh.
And yeah, I actually the Friday we went to go get our Tennessee IDs, and we were at the DMV for 5 hours.
Oh my
From
gosh.
11:30 to like right before 5. And while we were in there, I just like pulled up Amazon Prime and watched like the first episode with subtitles because I couldn't hear anything in there of the Addams Family. And I was like, hey, I know that chick.
And just so you know, in Canada, we do things online. We don't actually have to go and do that. We can order our licenses online and stuff. So
You don't have to go like show
no,
your
I don't have
birth
to physically
certificate?
show up. No, unless I'm changing my name, then yes. And I've had to do that. Oh yeah,
They're in a
You
whole
should
new
come
level.
to Canada.
That's a whole new level.
If you're just suing, it's fine.
I don't like that you're on here making Canada sound like a fucking good country.
Sorry, Jerry.
Y'all don't even have school shootings. How fucking boring of a country is that?
You know what? We've had a couple, Jerry. Just so
Oh, we've had
it's not as many as you guys.
We've had 3 like in the past year. Oh yeah, we've had 3 in the past fucking time we've recorded this podcast.
All right,
Okay?
we haven't had 3 in the past year, so we're even less than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I can't. If I went to Canada, I'd have to be a complete pirate because like it costs so much fucking money to ship in Blu-rays. I hear all the Canadian guys bitching about it all the time.
Yeah, but you'd be coming with your big American dollars, and you would have an amazing exchange rate.
You know
and you
I'm
would
poor,
stay
right?
With me.
Like I'm poor.
Well, you can stay with me for free, and I
am-
take you around.
I am one paycheck away from like blowing dudes behind a Kmart for fucking Blu-ray
Look,
money.
Jerry, you're better than Kmart. If you're gonna blow dudes, first of all, I think you should charge more.
You
got
don't
long
think
hair
32
that they can
cents
grab the
a
back
pop
of
is
them?
is 32 cents a pop is not. That's a good deal. I'm
No,
not here.
Jerry, you're more than
Give
that.
a
You're
deal.
just a
$19.42.
$15 BJ, okay? Like, know your value, Jerry. Know your value.
Oh God, Canada's looking down on me right now. This is fucked up. What is wrong with my country? Oh,
I heard they have universal blowjob income too. You get at
It's
least
true.
$10 per.
It's true. We have a standard rate. Depends, like, if you swallow or not, you get bonus.
Is
so.
prostitution legal in Canada?
No, it's not. Kenneth asked me the same thing. But no, it's not. But it's there's probably a likelihood, I would say, in the next 10 to 15 years it will be.
There's likelihood in the next 10 to 15 days, our prime minister is going to legalize it. Just in case another photo of him comes up dressed in
Hey,
inappropriate
you know
things.
what? You do what you gotta do to get elected. If the worst we have is a prime minister that's doing that, I rather live here than I'm sorry than what you guys have to deal with in the States.
All right, I'm wrapping this up. This is, I feel like I'm getting picked on.
Aw, no.
So with that saying, you have to see House of Wax from 1953. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's my favorite Vincent Price movie. I watched this movie all the time as a kid. It is just fucking awesome. Vincent Price is my favorite actor. He blows me away every time I see him in a movie. You've got to check this movie out if you haven't seen it. This is one of the not as much talked about because usually it's either Witchfinder General or House on Haunted Hill or one of the Poe movies. So this is definitely one you need to fucking check out. It is Vincent Price's first real horror villain role. So you need to check it out. With that being said, our next podcast will be on The Mask of the Red Death, and Kenneth will be on that one. That's my second favorite Vincent Price movie, my favorite of the Roger Corman Poe movies. It is absolutely wonderful and delicious in every single way. And fucking check us out on Facebook and check us out on Pornhub and behind Kmart. Thank you, Heather, for joining us on this wonderful podcast where I rambled a lot and came up with cool new catchphrases for the world.
That no one's ever heard
Can I
before.
just say, I love being on this podcast. I think you are one of the funniest people ever, Jerry, and one of the best podcasters. So I am always honored when I get to come on and be on this podcast with you.
I would say your check's in the mail, but it costs like
Too much
7
shit,
blowjobs just to pay for the shipping. So that's not gonna happen.
That's okay.
What's the exchange rate through PayPal? That's what I need to know. Yes, we are always glad to have you on. You are definitely one of my favorite people to bring on. Eventually, we will kick Jay off and replace him with you, and then I'm going to kick Kenneth off and replace him with Watson, and then I'm going to kick myself off and replace me with Jerry Cortez.
Oh, man.
And then I'm going to kick all of you off, and it will be a podcast of why you should not have sex with dogs for money.
Oh, interesting.
Starring
Okay.
Whitney, Wisconsin.
Starring Whitney, Wisconsin. Is she still around?
Somewhere in the internet
Oh,
universe.
Or I want to start my Goatsy podcast. That'll be fun. For everyone who doesn't know what Goatsy is, just Google that. Goatse.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Okay, Heather's going to Google Goatsy, and I'm going to act all
sweet.
innocent and say thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast. We will be back soon with wonderful, wonderful words of wisdom for your ear holes. Check us out on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and fucking Facebook and all kind of shit. Did you look it up, Heather?
No, I didn't.
I kind of want to see your face as you see it.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
Okay, now,
So what
okay.
is it?
Goatse.
Goatse.
Google Images.
It's like blocked in Canada.
It's, yeah, you know what? It should be blocked everywhere. For those Googling
I
at
don't
home,
think it came up with what you guys are wanting me to see.
it didn't autocorrect? Make sure it doesn't autocorrect.
Yeah,
All
I
I
think
can
it
find is
autocorrect.
memes about it.
So-
What? Ah, damn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find the
Aw.
original.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well, you know what? I don't have time for this anymore. Type in Goatsy Original, people. Find it at home.
Find
We
it.
are fucking out of here. We love all you. We will be back, hopefully, at the beginning of November. In November, we'll also have a new Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space and hopefully a new
Yay.
Cult Unknown. And I think that's about it. I don't have anything else to say.
And happy
I'm rambling
birthday,
on.
Jerry.
Happy birthday
to Jerry.
to me. I'm
Happy birthday,
21
Jerry.
years old.
Oh, 21.
21.
You look so good.
I shaved for my costume, and now I look like a fucking Neanderthal in every picture I take. I kind of like how I look right now because there's like shadows that's like hiding this jawline I have that I didn't know I had.
Okay, so no, Jerry is too hard on himself. He has his bandana on right now, and he looks pretty badass. He
It
does
is-
not
it is-
look bad at all.
It is not a bandana. It is a hairband for women.
Oh my god, it
That's-
still looks awesome.
That's how I'm doing it. But for my dad's Halloween party, I'm not going as John Trent because no one there will fucking know it. So I'm going as Tommy Lee from Motley Crue.
That's actually pretty awesome.
I've got the hair for it. I think it's
Look
not
at
quite
it,
long,
yeah.
but I think I can do
You
this.
can do it. Look at that hair. That's a beautiful head of hair.
Okay, I don't think anyone cares about what we're talking about anymore, so I'm gonna end the fucking show. Love all you guys. Take it easy. Have a good night. Check out Liking It Podcast when that comes out. Silver Bullet, Psycho of the Werewolf, over here balling. Check out Heather. She's doing shit with that shitty dude Neil, whose only real purpose on this world is to make half decent memes. And he's doing another commentary podcast that's not about horror, called Hard to Kill Podcast, where they review 80 movies. Oh wait, he already did that. What's this one again?
This one that we're doing is
Non-horror.
Not horror. It's not horror, okay.
Not horror, okay. It's
Yeah.
also not action, we guess, because he already has those two podcasts. Just kidding. I love you, Neil. NFW. Check that shit out. Go to their group, and they're all bitching about wrestlers, and how the WWF sucks, and they keep watching it. They're like fucking battered wives who keep coming back to their husband because the husband's got the heroin.
Oh my God.
Fucking NFW. So go check those guys out, and we will see you next time. What are we recording again? Oh yeah, Kill the Cast. That's what we're doing. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. Make your night good by eating mozzarella sticks and watching a Vincent Price film. Happy
Come
Halloween.
to Canada.
Beep beep, Richie.
Don't go to Don't steal my catchphrase as Beep Beep Richie TMC for the copyright would circle around it fucking over here, registered trademark. I'm suing your ass. Okay, about to make this fucking old lady getting hot coffee spilled on her lap by McDonald's in the 1980s money.
Wow.
Also, birds are not real. They're government robots spying on us. Thank you. We are out. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Ghost Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.